My name is Kayla Dumas, and welcome back to White Noise. So today we're going to be talking about education and who is afforded what.
I grew up in a suburb of Chicago called Naperville. Uh, it basically consists of mainly middle upper class, and I would say because of that we have two amazing public school districts in which I grew up in, and I would say our high schools are comparable to uh, the best private Catholic schools in the area.
I went to Catholic school all my life, and I grew up in Southern California in a very conservative part of the state. And so I had a very conservative Catholic upbringing for all years of my education.
Growing up, I went to a combination of public schools and private Catholic schools. So for the first, up until high school, I went to multiple different public schools throughout Chicago, where I'm from. Some of them have critical acclaim, some of them do not, but overall, I received a rather great public education up until high school. High school, I went to a private Jesuit Catholic high school around downtown Chicago, 1,500 students, around 86 to 90% white. Very interesting culture, very interesting dynamic.
I had public education. I actually went to a very small high school. Our graduating class was 48, and that was the largest in like 20 years.
Growing up, I had a combination of both public schools and private school. Kindergarten through 5th grade, I was in public school, and then 6th grade through 12th grade, I was in private school. The biggest difference between those two was that, in private school, the class size is much smaller, which means, I feel like I was able to learn more. In the public school system, there are at least about 20, 25 students in the class, and in private schools, my class size was maybe about 13. And so that's a lot, 13 or smaller. So that's a lot smaller, and it allowed me to learn a lot more.
I grew up in public school my whole life. There was never nothing private about it. I literally went from 3 different elementary schools, 2 different middle schools, and 2 different high schools.
Do you feel education is equally available to all? Why or why not?
It's definitely not equally available to all. Many people don't have the funds to be able to go to schools. Many times it's about the schools that someone went to as a kid, because having that basis, that foundation of education is important. And you can succeed without that, and you can also fail with it, but it's mostly about the motivation of the person and the lot they're given in life.
Opinion, the quality of education that is necessary to advance socioeconomically is not available to all in a way that is doable for all or reasonable for all. In so much as the quality education needed to, for example, go to college, graduate college, and then having the skill set necessary to get a job after you graduate college, that type of education, that quality of education, is not readily available in a reasonable point to all. Because not everybody can have great public education systems. Not every city has great private school systems. Not every family can afford to send their children to private school. And in a lot of cities, you go to the public school that's in your district. If you have a district with low property taxes, low housing costs, you will have relatively low to moderate quality public schools. And that is a recipe for the school-to-prison pipeline, which is another story. But to make a short answer very long, no, I do not believe that a reasonable, high-quality education is attainable for all people.
So with that, do you believe that the education
Public school is available everywhere, but I feel like because of certain areas, like say an area where crime rates are high, a lot of teachers do not want to teach in a district in that area. So you're not going to get the same quality of teachers in those schools. But technically, it is available for everyone, if that makes sense.
Education is equally available to all, whether that education is actually quality education or of the same quality, I do not. I think that quality education and then coming here and volunteering in these schools that didn't
quality lives out here.
To be frank, I feel like white people get better education, and I also feel like it's geared to help them succeed more than it is to help us succeed. I feel like the education that you most likely see is pretty much in favor of people who are white. I feel like they tell us about the white generals, they tell us about, the white engineers, the white electricians, anything. But they tell you a lot about them and how, they started from the bottom and now they're here. But you don't really hear that about the black people. And the fact that we're hearing it more so today, it's helpful. It's something for the kids to look up to. But for that generation that came up before them, you don't really have that outlook. Every time you hear somebody, they went to trade school or, they had an idea and it made it flourish. We had a lot of rappers in our day. We had the artists, the actors, and stuff like that. But we didn't have the smart people, that we would talk about. And so I don't feel like it's geared for us. I don't feel like it was necessarily, in, put in place to help minorities.
Do you believe the education system does more harm than good for lower income families? Why or why not?
I would say it tends to do more harm than good. Just looking at schools in Alabama, there's mold in the classrooms, there are holes in the ceilings, the air conditioner doesn't work. And that's definitely not all schools in Alabama, but that's not the best environment for children to be learning from. And I think that there should be more education reform with providing every child the same amount of education and a good.
That's a tough one. I would say for lower income families, I don't see how much harm the system itself does. I think because of where the kids are at, it comes down to the teachers that they have in that
I think that the education system, especially for younger children, middle school to high school, does a lot more harm for lower income families out there. My mom actually got sick, and so we there for a little bit we were below middle class, and so that was something new to me. And so I remember there were a lot of expenses for school that was just even in a public school, like things that if I wanted to participate like the other students, I had to have money. And I can't imagine what it's like for people that have always been below the middle class, like below middle class, and people that are like below the poverty line that live that way their entire lives. I can't imagine what like going to a school is like for them either. Because I know public school for me, they're towards the end was hard until I finally got my own job so I could pay for my own school expenses.
Overall, to all people, I would say that it does more good than harm, but there is a lot of instances where the education system does a lot more harm than good. It can have a tendency to label a child. For example, if a child has ADHD and is diagnosed when they're younger, that label sticks with them for the entirety of their educational career because it's in their IEP, their individual education plan, it's in their files, every single teacher can access it as they see fit. And for example, ADHD has a label of can't focus, not attentive, not engaged, therefore won't learn as well and is possibly disruptive. And that, seen as a teacher, you don't know the child, you haven't seen the child, that is already a red flag. You automatically treat them differently, and as such, they learn differently, which has a profound impact on a child's education, how they succeed, if they will succeed at all, and how they see themselves ultimately as a person who is willing to learn and grow.
I don't think the public school system does more harm than good in the sense that it provides kids with a basic education. It introduces them to certain subjects and it allows them to see what they like and what they don't like. But I think the harm comes in when students start to become labeled and stigmatized. I had a personal experience with this. The second public school that I attended, at back to school night, one of my parent teacher conference, one of my teachers had expressed to my parents that she was concerned that I would not be able to keep up with the rest of the children in the class, and it's because I had come from a failing school district in a lower income area, a school in that area. But not to anybody's surprise, whatever. I was, at the end of the school year, I
I believe everyone can try and save for college, but there's only so much you can save when you have to pay bills, when you have to pay for your car to drive to work. If someone has a kid and they have to pay for that child, it's really hard to save and actually be able to afford college, especially a college like here. It's a bit more expensive to go to, and I'm privileged to go to it and to be able to, but not many people can save up that much money to be able to.
When it comes to saving for college, no, I don't think anybody can just save. I think you actually have to have a good enough income to where you have something left over each month to save. Because my family, they did save for me to go to college. And then whenever my mom got sick and we didn't have another income, she had to take that savings that she put aside for me to like take care of me at that time. And so because I was an only child growing up, so I don't and so people, and I'm using that as an example, there are people out there that never had that good opportunity, that they weren't given a good education growing up, so they weren't able to go to college, and their parents weren't given a good education growing up, and they didn't go to college. There's a long line of people that are given or dealt a bad hand in life, that they didn't have the childhood of higher middle class, and then went down. They're constantly below the poverty line, and so you don't have enough money to even keep your water on at all times. Like you have to like live paycheck to paycheck. You're not gonna have enough money to save up for your child to go to college.
I don't think you can save for college mainly because you have to take into account a lot of things. You have to take into account, things around the house. You have bills. You have, especially in families where you may have like 6 or 7 kids. That's a lot to take care of. And in the moment, saving for college is not an option. Again, you have to have food for the kids. You have to have food on the table. You have to have lights on. You have to take all that into consideration when asking, can you save for college? So I don't.
I got a job, so I can do that. But as quick as I got a job, I got a bill. And it's like the more you have, the more it seems like people take. And so I feel like if you're not in a situation where you can like, stack yourself up and you have like parents who can, make up the difference in that opportunity. I feel like if some people who do it, it's never gonna be enough to make it the whole way through. It's always like, oh well, I have this much money, but yeah, you're trying.
Education, the only way to be successful?
I don't think a formal education is the only way to be successful. I think education in general is important to be successful, because my grandfather grew up in Alabama during the Great Depression and I believe dropped out of school in middle school, so he doesn't have much of a formal education. But he's a very wise man, and he made a living for himself, working and picking up jobs and learning along the way. And that education is valuable, and he was successful, but a formal education isn't necessary.
No, not at all. There's definitely other ways. I think, well, you can start a business, you start small and grow. You don't necessarily need an education on that if there's just a field that interests you and you know a lot about in general, like, let's say, random hunting gear. If you know a lot about that kind of stuff, then you know the routes that you're going to have to take to be successful. But, I mean, education seems to be the main way right now, and it's the most likely way to get an eventual triple, in the 100,000s, like those 6-digit numbers in income. But there are definitely other ways to do it. It takes a lot of hard work, though. I will admit. It is going to be more difficult, but it is possible.
Formal education in terms of college and universities is not the only way to be successful. There are trade schools, there are people who are not billionaires or millionaires, but they are being entrepreneurs doing what they love on a regular basis. Is that work hard? Yes. Being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is incredibly difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for somebody who doesn't love it. But getting a formal education